Okay, and now we are here. So, welcome everybody. Welcome to See Through, our podcast where we dive into spirituality, into spiritual texts, into bhakti yoga, and then we try and help each other through it all. My name is Achyuta Gopi. If you didn't know, welcome. If you did know, thank you. Welcome again, also. We're here usually on Sundays at 10 a.m., live on YouTube and also in a Zoom room. And in our Zoom room, we have all of our wonderful, amazing patrons. So good to see all of you. And if you'd like to join in the Zoom room and have a little bit more access, a little bit deeper connection, you can join on Patreon. But we're going to be diving back into Krishna book. We've been in the introduction for, this is going on a month now or so. So we've been on the introduction for a while, but I kind of think that taking a leisurely walk through these sacred texts is actually much needed. Something rather than just kind of rushing through to get it over with. Now we kind of get to let it steep like really, really good herbal tea. You get all the flavors to marinate. We get all of our realizations going together. We come up with questions and answers and ups and downs of our week. So that's what we do. Last week, we celebrated the appearance day of Lord Nityananda, and that was a fun episode. So if you haven't seen it, you can go back and watch it. And it was a Valentine's Day episode also. So there's lots of wonderful romance in there and divinity and supreme love stories. So if you haven't seen it, please go back and watch it. Today, I was just looking and my calendar reminded me that tomorrow there's like a fast until noon. And so I thought, because we are here in this see-through community, which is part of a bigger bhakti yoga community, why don't we talk about that a little bit, like why and what? So this idea of fasting, of for a certain amount of time, not eating, but for what purposes? Is it like, God just wants to torture us and make us not feel complete anymore? No. The goal is supposed to be to bring our minds away from the constant thoughts of, okay, what am I going to eat? Now, how long is that going to take to make it? And then once I make it, like, how much prep work do I have to do? Maybe I should start the prep work now. What if I start the prep work in 20 minutes? Do I have all the ingredients for that prep work? Like, you ever think about how much time we spend thinking about what to eat, when to eat it, and how long it's going to take to make it? So, in an attempt to bring our minds away from that and towards more spiritual topics, we have fasting. And on this occasion, we're fasting until just noon, which is like half-day fast, which I always kind of wondered, half-day fast at noon, when does your day end? Like, when did these days originally end if the fast is only till noon? Because noon kind of seems like the day is now picking up steam, doesn't it? It's not really halfway through, but I'll take it. So we're fasting until noon in honor of the appearance of a great saint by the name of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Most importantly, he happens to be the spiritual teacher of Srila Prabhupada, the author of this commentary known as Krishna book. So we're honoring the spiritual teacher of a spiritual teacher, which is always great. So Srila Prabhupada journeyed to the West in the late 60s, early 70s to bring about a spiritual revolution and to kind of ignite hearts with spiritual truths and knowledge that he definitely felt were much needed. And they were. There are a lot of lost souls. Even as there are today, I feel like anywhere you look, you'll find souls in need of this community, in need of spiritual guidance, yearning for spiritual truths. But we might not have had this spiritual revolution as we know it had Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur not advised Srila Prabhupada to take these wonderful teachings and carry them to the West and Western countries. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had a vision that these teachings were not meant to simply stay in India, They were meant to travel as far and as wide as humanly possible, and then even beyond that, because we have spiritual empowerment on our side. So I feel as though we owe a great debt to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And in this mood of incredible gratitude and loving compassion, we can observe just a short fast tomorrow in his honor. Just our way of saying thank you with mind, body, and soul, to really just express how wonderful we think that this opportunity is. And it's also a good day to remind ourselves to take our spiritual opportunities seriously. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was all about that, taking our spiritual opportunities as seriously as we possibly can. He would say you should wake up in the morning, and first thing you should do is beat the mind with a shoe. And then before you go to bed, you should beat it with a stick. So he was all about trying to curb all of those times where the mind tries to drag us in so many different directions. And I know we've spoken about this before, and I've said, we can either be divinely guided or dragged by the mind, right? We can be divinely guided by love, or we can be dragged by the mind. But ultimately, the choice is ours, which kind of stinks, because then we think, oh, all this suffering, the choice is mine. I didn't choose this. But we can use some days to really bring our minds back to what is it that we're choosing? Actively really making conscious choices. What is it that we're choosing? Are we really choosing divine love and this divine guidance? Or are we letting the mind take us on a rampage again? And our mind will try relentlessly, which is why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says we should beat the mind 100 times with a shoe in the morning and at night with a stick. Like, kind of keep on it, keep the mind in line. And even Sri Krishna within Bhagavad Gita mentions that the mind can become the best friend or the greatest of enemies. Depends on how we try and control it. And I am ever thankful for all of the multitudinous advances that have been made within society today. There are advances made in therapy techniques. There are advances made in medicine techniques, and all for mental health. And I feel as though it's incredibly important, because Krishna is even speaking about mental health. He says everyone, even up to the creator, Lord Brahma, is struggling with the six senses, which include the mind. How incredibly powerful is this mind? It's so powerful, known as the sixth sense, and with the ability to drag away all of the other ones. So I often find myself in a place of gratitude for the seemingly unconventional ways that Krishna's mercy shows up. Right? We often think of mercy, it's like it's got to be this miraculous message filled with light coming from an effulgent spiritual teacher. But what about the days when Krishna's mercy shows up through your therapist? Like, we can't discount that. What about the days when Krishna's mercy shows up because he sent you a doctor? We should be able to see Krishna's mercy and that divine guidance in our lives from so many different angles. All it takes is a shift in our perspective. How can I find mercy and grace and compassion in this given moment? So I'm glad to be here with all of you as we try and redirect our minds one more day, for one more hour at a time, as we do with each other. So I'm glad we're all here to see each other through another Sunday, another gathering where hopefully at the end, we'll all feel a little bit better for it. So without further ado, we'll jump right into Krishna book, and we can keep Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in mind tomorrow, and just offer a little prayer from your heart. And if you can, observe a little fast just until noon, with this attitude of gratitude in our hearts, that thank you for sending and having a vision that this knowledge of Krishna and of our best friend should be here with all of us, no matter where we find ourselves in the world. So we can offer prayers to our spiritual teachers. We can even offer prayers on behalf of one another. And we can use our mystical incantation in order to bring us right to the realm of Krishna book. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shanakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha kalpatarupyascha kripa sindhupya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Okay, so now we're ready. We are within Krishna book. Still, like I said, introduction many times. You can follow along in a physical book, or you can follow along online. There is a Vedabase website. It's vedabase.io. Once you get there, you can search for Krishna book. Once you find the Krishna book, we're right in the introduction. And then you just scroll a little bit till you find us. Don't worry, you'll get there. So, throughout this introduction, we've spoken about expansions of Krishna, partial expansions of Krishna, and who this Krishna Katha, or Krishna pastimes and Krishna stories, who they are meant for. And so that was our previous episodes. And now we lead off with continuing on the glories of Krishna Katha, who they're meant for and what they can do for us. We are in a paragraph that starts, King Parikshit was especially interested in hearing Krishna Katha because he knew that his forefathers, and particularly his grandfather Arjuna, were victorious in the great battle of Kurukshetra only because of Krishna. So Parikshit Maharaj is, as we are hearing, the grandson of Arjuna. So he plays a very pivotal role within the Mahabharata. After this battle of Kurukshetra, King Parikshit is the only one left in order to take up the mantle of the throne and become king of the line of the Kurus. And it helps because King Parikshit was also a devotee of Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam, within the commentaries, within the purports, Srila Prabhupada makes a point that Sri Krishna wanted the Pandavas to become rulers and to rule the earth especially because they were his devotees. And I always found that incredibly encouraging because ruling the world also comes with a lot of things that we usually don't think of as spiritual. Comes with fame, comes with abundance and money, comes with rulership and authority, comes with all of these, you have to be a very outgoing personality. It doesn't seem like this would encompass the qualities of a Vaishnava, right? Humility and tolerance and all of these things, right? A non-enviousness and a non-greediness. It doesn't seem like a king would have all of those things, but these devotees of Krishna, they had them all. They still had all of the most divine qualities, and so Krishna had entrusted kingdoms into their hands. And it was a very calculated move on behalf of our supreme friend, especially because he wanted these devotees to be rulers and administrators. So if you find yourself in a place of administration and you're wondering, like, how does this even fit into my devotional life? Of course it does. And it's just because we are trying to be devotionally minded and spiritually minded people. And the world needs those within administrative spaces. We really do need spiritually minded people in great places in order to give some kind of a positive direction to where society can go. So all of that to say, this is why King Parikshit was so important And it was important for Maharaj Parikshit to hear Krishna Katha, but also that was giving you a chance to catch up into the paragraph. So now I hope we're all there. So now we can continue. So Arjuna and his brothers were victorious in the great battle of Kurukshetra only because of Krishna. We may also take this material world as a battlefield of Kurukshetra. Everyone is struggling hard for existence in this battlefield, and at every step there is danger. According to Maharaj Parikshit, the battlefield of Kurukshetra was just like a vast ocean full of dangerous animals. His grandfather Arjuna had to fight with such great heroes as Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and many others who were not ordinary fighters. Such warriors have been compared to the Timingila fish in the ocean. The Timingila fish can very easily swallow up big whales. The great fighters on the battlefield of Kurukshetra could swallow many, many Arjunas very easily, but simply due to Krishna's mercy, Arjuna was able to kill all of them. Just as one can cross with no exertion over the little pit of water contained in the hoofprint of a calf, so Arjuna, by the grace of Krishna, was able to very easily jump over the ocean of the battle of Kurukshetra. Maharaj Parikshit very much appreciated Krishna's activities for many other reasons. Not only was his grandfather saved by Krishna, but he himself also was saved by Krishna. At the end of the battle of Kurukshetra, all the members of the Kuru dynasty, both the sons and grandsons on the side of Dhritarashtra, as well as those on the side of the Pandavas, died in the fighting. Except the 5 Pandava brothers, everyone died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Maharaj Parikshit was at that time within the womb of his mother. His father, Abhimanyu, the son of Arjuna, also died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And so Maharaj Parikshit was a posthumous child. When he was in the womb of his mother, a Brahmastra weapon was released by Ashwatthama to kill the child. When Parikshit Maharaj's mother, Uttara, approached Krishna, Krishna, seeing the danger of abortion, entered her womb as the super soul and saved Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit's other name is Vishnu Rata because he was saved by Lord Vishnu himself while still within the womb. Thus, everyone, in any condition of life, should be interested in hearing about Krishna and his activities because he is the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. He is all-pervading. He is living within everyone's heart, and he is living as his universal form. And yet, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, he appears as he is in the human society, just to invite everyone to his transcendental abode, back to home, back to Godhead. Everyone should be interested in knowing about Krishna, and this book is presented with this purpose, that people may know about Krishna and be perfectly benefited in this human form of life. So this idea of the world as a battlefield is so appropriate for all of us, isn't it? We are facing so many battles, and we see so many quotes. Everyone is facing a battle that people know nothing about. Everyone is facing a battle similar even to Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit was in the womb of his mother as an embryo, which means he was completely helpless. He was not yet a great fighter. He was not yet anything. He had not yet made a name for himself. He hadn't even been born to complete any wonderful activities. So I bring this up because I was speaking with a friend recently, and they were going through such a tumultuous time at heart. And I was thinking, I said, we should pray. Oh, my Krishna, I'm yours. I have no ability to control anything. I haven't done anything great, but you can save me. And then we have to have faith that Krishna will save us. This is the basis of our spiritual lives. If we aren't having faith that Krishna will save us, then what are we putting our faith in? Are we actually believing what we're doing on this spiritual path? And my friend said, what if I'm not worthy of being saved? I said, of course you are. We all are. And furthermore, Krishna's not even thinking about that. Krishna says, for one who approaches me, just saying once, just once, oh my Lord, I'm yours, I must give them all protection. We think, what rules does the Supreme Person have to follow? But this is one of them. In this regard, there's a great story of Ram. And Ram is such an upholder of dignity and etiquette and all of the wonderful characteristics of the perfect person. He's known as Maryada Purushottam, which means the best of all mankind, but such an upholder of dignity and etiquette. So he was always following, right, the lines and the guidance of society and his perfect place within society. And so this is the same Ram who says, anyone who approaches me even just once saying, "Oh my Lord, I'm yours. I surrender myself to you." He says, I must give them protection. He was fighting a great enemy named Ravan. Ravan was a demon. Ravan had kidnapped Ram's wife, and Ravan's own brother Vibhishan heads to see Ram and says, "Oh my Lord, I'm yours. Just save me." Ram's brother Lakshman was dubious and doubtful. A lot of the monkey soldiers, the Vanara warriors within Ram's army, were also heavily doubtful. And they were trying to warn Ram, I don't think you should give him shelter. What says he deserves this shelter? He's the brother of Ravan. Who says he's worthy? But none of that mattered to Ram. Ram said, if one person just once comes to see me, and they say, "Oh my Lord, I'm yours," I must give them protection. So Maharaj Parikshit hadn't done anything yet. Right? We might think, oh, now he got the benediction of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and hearing all of these spiritual truths because he had been a great king and a great leader, and he was born in this family. He had done many things, and that was later. But at this point where Krishna saves him, before he's even born, what has he done? What makes him worthy of saving? Simply his dependence on Krishna. That makes all of us worth saving. Our dependence on divinity. I was talking to another friend just last night, and we were speaking, and I was telling her that I was like, "You're such a Vaishnava." She said, "No, I'm not." I said, "Of course you are." Among all of the qualities of a Vaishnava, do you know what the crown jewel of all of those qualities is? Rupa Goswami says the crest jewel on all of the qualities of a devotee is simply this: their complete dependence on Krishna. So whether you think that you're getting it all right as a Vaishnav, or whether you think you're not, whether you think, oh, I'm completely failing, whether you think I've chanted japa or I have not chanted japa, whether you think I am wearing tulsi beads or I have not somehow worn tulsi beads, on the crest jewel of all of those qualities, beyond what you wear, beyond what you eat, beyond how you act on any given day, beyond whether you can even fast or not, beyond all of that, one of the best qualities is simply our complete dependence on Krishna and the faith that Krishna will follow through and save us. That's it. That's where it starts. So if you think you haven't done anything today, you have. We've had to be dependent on Krishna in some way, shape, or form. And you think, how? How could I do that today? You woke up. You're here. All of that takes a dependence on Krishna. I know I've said it before, none of us wake up in the morning and they think, okay, let me turn my heart on so that it beats nicely, warms up. Let me turn my brain on so that that starts working well. We don't control any of that. We leave that up to all of divine arrangement. And then we have faith when we wake up that it's all going to work smoothly. Right? Usually our attention is brought to it when it's not working. But up until that point, we are going along with faith that everything is going to work as it should. So this is us exercising our dependence on Krishna. And so one of our friends, our Lileshwari, has brought up a really wonderful, from the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam. The Lord protects everyone, but one who depends completely upon him is especially looked after by the Lord. The father is more attentive to the little son who is exclusively dependent on the father. How sweet. This is why I love having our Zoom room, because we get wonderful inputs like this, and we need them. So this is first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th chapter. How beautiful this is. And Srila Prabhupada even goes on to explain the differences between how a mother will act with the child and how a father will act with the child. And then he makes an analogy in terms of material nature and Krishna. And so he says that the mother will oftentimes have to be the one who will discipline the child, even though the mother doesn't like it. The mother will take up the reins and say, okay, I'll do what has to be done. And they'll discipline the child, because often the mother is with the child a lot, sometimes more than with the father, right? So, and ultimately, definitely more than the father, because you've had to incubate this child, right? So there's at least 9 months more, right? Even if you think it's completely equal, somebody had to incubate the child. So then you've got another caregiver, right? And oftentimes they don't want to be the disciplinarian. I have seen this. I have seen this firsthand. My brother with my nephew, my brother and his son, my sister-in-law, she is there. She has to be the disciplinarian. And he's a very rambunctious 7-year-old with loads of ideas, He's got all the things going. And so she has to be the disciplinarian. Meanwhile, my brother, he comes and he tells his son, he's like, stop doing this. And he says, okay, Pop. But then he does it again. He's like, hey, stop doing it. Stop it. And if he even gets angry just a little bit, my little nephew's like, but are you angry, Pop? And then immediately I see it. My brother melts right away. No, I'm not angry. I'm like, what? Come on. And everybody's hearts are melting. It's all mushy moments. Oh, it's great. So we see, I've seen it. The father doesn't necessarily really want to discipline the child. And Srila Prabhupada makes a point that this is kind of the balance with material nature and Krishna. Material nature is like that mother who's going to step in and do what's necessary, right? Material nature is going to step in and give you what is coming. That karma, sometimes it burns. It's not great, but she's going to do it for our own good, and ultimately out of a place of love and of service. But it's for our own good. Now, then we have Krishna. And Krishna is such a soft-hearted father. So soft-hearted. We have all these things coming to us. We've forgotten him for lifetimes. We've done all this. We've done all the things. Krishna tries to be hard and stringent with us. But the moment we say, but really? Are you really angry? No, I'm not angry. Melts right away. Krishna melts. We melt. Everybody melts. But there needs to be some disciplinary, there needs to be some discipline sometimes. So we have material nature. And so I really have liked those. There's 2 purports in there. And so we start here, where we hear that the father is more attentive to the little son who is exclusively dependent on the father. And that's what happens. Krishna sees it, but my person is just dependent on me. How can I leave them stranded? I can't. And I feel as though sometimes material nature is like, but did you see what they just did? What do you mean completely dependent? Did you just see how they tried to control everything? And you're going to run to them right away? And Krishna, I can't. I have to. Yes, Krishna's going to run right away. So we should know, and we should have absolute faith that we are on the right path. Even if our progress doesn't look so bold and fast, doesn't matter. Our progress is our progress. And in this endeavor, Shri Krishna says there's no loss or diminution. Our progress doesn't go away. It's not you either make it to the supreme goal or you get nothing. Right? Krishna is always about finding our progress where we're at and rewarding us for that progress, even however small we think it is. Even when we know we're not trying our best to our fullest capacity, the moment we are authentic enough to understand and express, my Lord, I get it. I'm not trying to my fullest capacity, but you please still accept me. Somehow that's enough for Krishna. How magnanimous and open-hearted is our Lord that even that's enough. He says, no matter, you've been authentic, no problem. I'll give you rewards for that too. He just wants us back with him. That's his goal. And he will try absolutely anything to get us there. So if you find yourself here, it's because Krishna decided. He roped you in. He said, no, come back. Come back. Come hear about me. Come feel a little bit better. Come remember why we were such a good couple, such a good team. So this is us. This is our plight. This world is a battlefield. But because of our exclusive dependence on Krishna, what do they say? Just as though, how much force does it take to get over the amount of water in the smallest puddle, in the hoofprint of a calf? It takes nothing. We don't even have to jump. You just lift your foot, you put it over, done. This is what our material existence becomes when we are completely and constantly taking shelter of Krishna. All those insurmountable obstacles miraculously shrink. And even when the obstacles do come, because they will come, our mindsets change. We don't see them the same way anymore. We don't look at them as huge mountains. Now we are equipped with the spiritual fortitude. We are given all the spiritual tools that we need to fortify our hearts, to make our hearts stronger, so that we can overcome whatever it is. So I love Krishna book. So, in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Baladev is described as the son of Rohini, a wife of Vasudev. Vasudev, the father of Krishna, had 16 wives, and one of them was Rohini, the mother of Balaram. But Balaram is also described as the son of Devaki. So how could he be the son of both Devaki and Rohini? This was one of the questions put by Maharaj Parikshit to Shukadev Goswami, and it will be answered in due course. Maharaj Parikshit also asked Shukadev Goswami why Sri Krishna, just after his appearance as the son of Vasudev, was immediately carried to the house of Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan Gokul. He also wanted to know what the activities of Lord Krishna were while he was in Vrindavan and while he was in Mathura. Besides that, he was especially inquisitive to know why Krishna killed his maternal uncle Kamsa. Kamsa, being the brother of his mother, was a very intimate superior to Krishna. So how was it that he killed Kamsa? Also, he asked how many years Lord Krishna remained in human society, how many years he reigned over the kingdom of Dwarka, and how many wives he accepted there. A Kshatriya king is generally accustomed to accept more than one wife. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit also inquired about his number of wives. The subject matter of this book is Shukadev Goswami's answering of these and other questions asked by Maharaj Parikshit. The position of Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadev Goswami is unique. Maharaj Parikshit is the right person to hear about the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, and Shukadev Goswami is the right person to describe them. If such a fortunate combination is made possible, then Krishna Katha immediately becomes revealed, and people may benefit to the highest possible degree from such a conversation. One of the qualities that they say make this such a dynamic duo and such a wonderful place to hear is that Shukadev Goswami was eager to hear. Shukadev Goswami was such an eager listener, hungry for Krishna Katha, hungry to find out all of these truths, right? As we'll hear in a second, it kept him from eating, sleeping, drinking, anything. He was so eager to hear, and this becomes what makes such a dynamic duo. We see people, we can talk all day, but if there's no one listening, right? If we have all of these YouTube videos and there's no views, no one cares, it's in a vacuum, we will become quickly discouraged and it starts to fall off. We start to lose the enthusiasm. But when we have eager listeners, which I'm so grateful to have all of you, when we have eager listeners who are there saying, wait, but tomorrow, is there an episode of See-Through? Wait, but are we going to discuss again? Can we bring up one point? Like when we have eager listeners, it spurs everyone on and it benefits the whole world. It brings out different points and realizations that we never thought would have been possible. So it is imperative for us to gather in groups of our friends, to get together in groups of people that we think maybe this can help, and discuss these topics, bring about this Krishna Katha and these pastimes and wonderful stories and histories that give us hope and enliven us and enthuse us and help us continue on in life. And this is what caused such a dynamic duo. This is what made something that benefited the entire universe. We have Shukadeva Goswami, who is eager to speak the glories of Krishna, but we have Parikshit Maharaj, who's so eager to hear. And we have an assembly of sages who are yearning to hear what they have complete faith that this will be the thing that turns around the miseries of this Kali Yuga age. And so I feel like it's so imperative. What made Shukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj such a powerful hearing and speaking duo is the same thing that's benefiting us right now. Simply having people who are eager and ready and willing, yearning to listen with an open heart. So thank you. Thank you for making this also such a dynamic duo. This narration was presented by Shukadev Goswami when Maharaj Parikshit was prepared to give up his body, fasting on the bank of the Ganges, in order to assure Shukadev Goswami that by hearing Krishna Katha he would not feel tired. Maharaj Parikshit expressed himself very frankly. Hunger and thirst may give trouble to ordinary persons or to me, but the topics of Krishna are so nice that one can continue to hear about them without feeling tired, because such hearing situates one in the transcendental position. It is understood that one must be very fortunate to hear about Krishna Katha seriously, like Maharaj Parikshit. He was especially intent on the subject matter because he was expecting death at any moment. Every one of us should be conscious of death at every moment. This life is not at all assured. At any time one can die. It does not matter whether one is a young man or an old man. So before death takes place, we must be fully Krishna conscious. At the point of his death, King Parikshit was hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadev Goswami. When King Parikshit expressed his untiring desire to hear about Krishna, Shukadev Goswami was very pleased. Shukadev was the greatest of all Bhagavat reciters, and thus he began to speak about Krishna's pastimes, which destroy all inauspiciousness in this age of Kali. Shukadev Goswami thanked the king for his eagerness to hear about Krishna, and he encouraged him by saying, "My dear king, your intelligence is very keen because you are so eager to hear about the pastimes of Krishna." See, just as we said. He informed Maharaj Parikshit that hearing and chanting of the pastimes of Krishna are so auspicious that the processes purifies the three varieties of men involved. He who recites the transcendental topics of Krishna, he who hears such topics, and he who inquires about him. These pastimes are just like the Ganges water which flows from the toe of Lord Vishnu. They purify the three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. Oh my goodness. We completed the introduction. Look at us. Woohoo! We made it. So next week, which will be so exciting, we get to start with chapter 1. I've been waiting for this. So yeah, we are eager to hear, and which makes people eager to speak. And there are benedictions just for those who hear it, for those who speak it, and for those who inquire about it. And so we'll hear as we go through each of these stories, sometimes there are little benedictions put at the end for one who hears or even recites the glories of this pastime, for one who even just remembers certain pastimes. You've got so many blessings coming for us. So I'm eagerly awaiting and hoping that we all stay tuned. I'm so excited. That was great. And you know what I love about these spiritual topics is that everybody wins. You might think I'm not doing anything but listening to a good audiobook, you know, or you might even think I didn't even come for spiritual realization. I just came because I like this person's reading voice. Doesn't matter. Right? Like I said, Krishna is trying any and all ways to get us back in this relationship. I am telling you, if somebody does not come with the same determination as Krishna and trying to get this relationship going, leave him alone. Leave him alone. Just let him go. Let him go. There's such a supreme amount of determination here. Like, and just getting us to re-recognize that, hey, we had a relationship. We had a friendship. We had a connection. I just want to get back to that connection. And we're like, yeah. come back in 5 minutes. I'll be busy. I'm like, I'm busy. I'll be free then. How do we tell the Supreme Person, I'm busy, come back in 5 minutes? And I'm so guilty of this. I think about the times when I have to pray or the times when I have to like chant Gayatri. And I think about how many times I've been like, yeah, I'll get it in 5 minutes. I'll come back to it 5 minutes. Like times when I'm going to chant job, I'll come back to it in 5 minutes. How do I tell the Supreme Person who is running towards me going, hey, do you remember we had a call scheduled and we had a meeting? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm busy with some other meetings. So if you just give me some time, and then I keep pushing back the time. Sometimes I never get to it. How is this possible? And yet we can all find times in our lives where we've been yearning for someone to come and approach us with this kind of determination. Right? We've been yearning for somebody to if somebody would just come and approach me with that level of intensity of wanting to be in a relationship with me. Like, we're always like, I'm always the one giving in a relationship. I've been putting it out there and doing the work and making it available so that I just wish somebody would approach me like that. And Krishna is constantly. And somehow or other, we find the wherewithal to ignore all of those advances and approaches. I want to stop ignoring them. I want to bring my focus and attention back to what is really important. I want to bring back my attention to all the ways that Krishna is showing me that he loves me. And all the ways that I can show Krishna that I love him. Also Radha Govinda, both the ways that I love both of them. And all of their devotees. There's so much love to give. So I've been wanting to reset and refocus and redistribute my attention in the right ways, with intention, with love within my heart, with this idea that I've been asking for so much, and Krishna has been the one that can fulfill all of those things. But I keep looking for it everywhere else. Keep convincing myself, oh no, this thing will do it. This will be the thing. This job will be the thing that makes it turn all around. This one person will be the thing that will give me all of the unlimited things that I've been looking for. What pressure to put on somebody else. What incredible pressure. Now you must satisfy all the unlimited desires of my soul. And if you don't, there's a problem with it. The whole thing, we have to remember what is the job of other people and what's the job of Krishna in our lives. And I'm trying to remember, wait a second, when have I been giving Krishna's job to other people? That's just going to be a recipe for disappointment. I have to remember, what is this person's job in my life and what is Krishna's job? And then be okay with that. Be okay with understanding that, yeah, this person is not meant to satisfy all of my unlimited desires. No one can do that but an unlimited personality. Luckily for all of us, we happen to know such an unlimited personality. And he's our best friend. Just waiting for us to say, hey, friend, we're back. Like, I remember a little bit. I don't remember everything about our connection, but I remember some key things. And those key things are enlivening my heart. They're giving me faith and hope and strength during all these battlefield-like times. So, now that we have these wonderful 10 minutes, we get to take some takeaways. From YouTube, we have really great takeaways. One wonderful listener, Ashi, they have been so in it, with realizations and finding all kinds of takeaways. So one thing they say is having unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord as one's protector, friend, and master is the natural condition of eternal life. And that's so true. We think having complete faith is something that we have to do, but it's actually just a natural byproduct of us living. Just it's natural. It's a part of our soul. Our souls happen to be dependent. So from the Zoom room, we have another short reflection from Lileshwari. Woohoo! Prabhupada says, just as one can cross with no exertion over the little bit of water contained in the hoof print of a calf, so Arjuna, by the grace of Krishna, was able to very easily jump over the ocean of the battlefield of Kurukshetra. This made me think that maybe our suffering won't shrink. Maybe the material ocean won't shrink. But we see how big the ocean of Krishna's mercy is. And in the face of Krishna's unlimited love and compassion, the ocean of material suffering is really, really small. Maybe it's just a shift of perspective, which happens when we can take a step back and see that we were focusing on the wrong thing. Yes, yes, yes. Exactly. So, and that goes with the same point hand in hand, that so many people think, well, I've been chanting this mom mantra for so long and I still find myself in problematic situations, right? The situations are still going to come. The obstacles are still going to come. It's not that the Pandavas were pure devotees and so they faced no obstacles. It's not that Lord Ram was God and thus faced no obstacles. We'll even see it's not that Krishna himself was the supreme, unfiltered, fully concentrated, aspect of God, the fullest version of God you could get. And so there were no obstacles. We'll see obstacles. We are going to see challenges, but the perspective can shift. It's just like if you look, the ocean seems insurmountable once you stand on the shore. But when you are in that ocean and you're drowning and Krishna comes on the back of his Garuda and picks you up and puts you on that back of Garuda with him, right? When you're up above, that ocean seems a lot smaller. Does it change the size of the ocean? Like Lileshwari said, no. The ocean is still huge. But when you are above it, doesn't matter. When we're in a plane and we're flying above it, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how big it is. And so, yes, our perspective can shift. And that goes hand in hand with, Prabhupada said a good analogy can be stretched, right? You can use it in all kinds of things. So even when we're on a plane and we are not thinking about all of the obstacles that we pass over, but sometimes we are thinking, how long is this going to take? Doesn't it feel that way sometimes when we're in the midst of Krishna's blessings? Those blessings can take many, many forms in our lives. And sometimes when we're in the midst of traveling with Krishna over those obstacles, the thought in our mind is, how long is this going to take? Oh, it feels so long when we're in it. When we get to the other side, it behooves us to kind of look back and think, that was such a long journey, real big amount that we crossed over. We crossed over so much. Even though on the inside, I was feeling a little apprehensive. I was getting a little tense, like, how long is this going to take? But we should know that we're protected. We should know that we are in the best hands. And that waiting, that patience in the meantime, it gets us every time. It's a bit of a doozy. It's uncomfortable, but not impossible. Right? We should remember that the waiting game, and when we're waiting for our blessings to come into our lives, it feels long, but it's not impossible. And that's Krishna's mercy. That's Krishna's protection. And I have taken to kind of reminding myself often that I am under Krishna's protection. I can relax in that. I should relax. I'm under Krishna's protection. And sometimes, especially when things look like they're not going my way, I have to remind myself doubly, I'm under Krishna's protection. This is not a punishment. It's protection. And that's what I was saying to myself a lot. Like I've been, over the past 2 years, you think about all the dips and twists and turns that life takes. And I'm like, this is not a punishment. This is protection. Krishna is not punishing us. He's protecting us. So Leela Manjari has also a takeaway. Encouraging message I heard was, it's not what I'm doing, but with what attitude or heart I'm doing it. The irony is, when our heart is focused, our actions become focused too. Yeah, we spend so much time trying not to focus with the heart and trying to focus with everything up here. And it is so ironic that once we start focusing here, everything else kind of just lays itself out. Everything else kind of just smooths out. And I think that Like I'm seeing so many, like so many of us have new haircuts going on, and I love it. I'm loving this. But that was kind of an example for me of like really just trying to like allow things to happen, rather than really controlling like how long or how short it was going to be. Because these were the questions that came up. It's like, well, why don't we try and go a little bit longer than so short, just so that we can try it out and see if we like it. And I kept feeling like, now I wanted this to be about surrender. Am I going to control every aspect of my surrender? That defeats the purpose. I have to start getting clear right here about what is it that I want? Why am I doing this? And what is it that I want to remember when I look at this every day? Which I feel like there's two things, right? We have to get really clear before we do something about why we're doing it, and that moment of surrender, and then relaxing into that surrender, knowing that Krishna's protection is there. But then when it works out, we also have to remind ourselves, remember why you did it. Remember why you did it. Because it's great that it worked out, but I don't want it to distract me from the real reason of why I did it. Because now it's real easy to get caught up in, but I look great. Okay? I look so awesome. I think maybe my new life purpose is modeling. But I have to remember why I did this. I did it as a surrender, as a way of thinking like, okay, I wanted to spend more time on japa and spiritual realizations than I did on my hair. And then by switching up a whole hair thing, and then it works because Krishna's mercy, right? I can't say it's because of me. This is all Krishna's mercy. So all the comments like, you have a great head. I'm like, yes, and that is Krishna's mercy. Because I had no control over that. I wasn't somewhere saying, let me shape it into the best shaped head that I could have. This was Krishna's mercy. Krishna took care of all the things. So now I have to remember, right? So it's like, what happens when the blessings actually come, when things turn out right? So why Krishna is saying we have to be even in happiness and distress. Because when it all works out and we look good, we come out looking great, it's easy to say, you know what, it's because I'm a rock star, okay? It's just because I'm the most awesome person any of you have ever met. But we have to remember what's really the driving force behind all of this. And so I have been actually reminding myself each day, I wake up, I'm like, Achyuta, remember what the goal was. Remember that we did this so that we could focus more on japa and less on our awesome appearance, which, yes, okay, Krishna's mercy. But we have to remember what is really, truly happening here. And this has been our condition for lifetimes in spiritual life, and our souls have been going through bodies where we look magnificent. And that magnificence has caused us to also forget our real goal. Right? We've been in situations where you're like, oh, this has been a change. It's been surrender, but it feels good this time. Like, this is great. This is nice. Look at the sensations. Krishna's like, but did you forget? did you forget? And sometimes like, oh, right. I'm sorry. I'm back. I'm bringing it back. And remembering that we have complete dependence on Krishna. Otherwise, there will be situations that will help us to remember in a not so comfortable way. So on this Sunday, I'm grateful, so grateful for the times when Krishna makes surrender comfortable. And we often think of surrender only in terms of when it's uncomfortable. But there are some times when it's so comfortable, and Krishna reminds us that, nope, surrender feels like the best divine hug ever. So this week, let's focus on that. Let's come back next week as we start this Krishna book. Let's come back with a couple of memories of when surrender felt wonderful, when surrender feels comfortable, when surrender doesn't feel like such a struggle, but it just feels like the most right thing for us to do. Because those moments are blessings. Those moments are wonderful. So thank you so much for being with me. And I cannot wait to be with you all again next week. Same time, same place. We're going to start Krishna book. We're going to get into things. We're going to talk about faith versus fear and what that looks like. Because there's a lot of that in this just one chapter. And I can't wait. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. We're going to talk about things. We're going to get into it. We're going to dive. It's going to be wonderful. We'll see you all next time. Everybody have a great day. Have a wonderful Sunday. Let me know how it goes. Write me a comment in the Patreon room, okay? Let me know how we're doing. Let me know this week where surrender feels comfortable and wonderful. You all are some of my best friends, okay? That's it. Krishna is my best friend. You all are some of my best friends. Best friends unite. Avengers assemble. Until next time, Shri Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Krishna Book Ki Jai, and all glories to each and every one of you. See you soon. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.